When we look at the art of artists we love, we often focus only on the technical side of their illustrations, but often overlook the ideation process they go through to get there, which is a really important topic that doesn't get talked about as often. These are things like how to consistently come up with ideas and expand on them, finding inspiration, visualizing your ideas quickly, and doing variations of them to find the ones you like the most while saving a ton of time. So in today's video, I'll be going through my illustration process with a focus on the earlier stages that I talked about. Please keep in mind that I myself have a lot to learn, and even I am new to this process, so this by no means is the right way. It's just what works for me. Before we start, I want to show you the software I usually use for organization, which is Milanote, who are kindly sponsoring this video. Milanote is an amazing tool for organizing your creative projects. It helps you transform your messy ideas into real and beautiful organized boards that make the process so much easier. It allows you to combine notes, images, videos, to-do lists, and basically any type of link into one space. And it comes with pre-built templates to make the process even easier. I've been using Milanote for a while for my illustration and concept art projects, and it's a perfect tool for what I'm going to show you today. You can use it on your browser for PC or use the app for Apple and Android devices. Also, for the browser version, you can use the Chrome extension, the Milanote Web Clipper, to bookmark any image, video, or text from other websites to any board, which you can then organize in Milanote. And best of all, you can sign up for free with no time limit. A free account is limited to 100 items, but that should be enough for what we're going to do today. So sign up using the link in the description if you'd like to follow along. For something as personal as your inspiration, I think we need to ask a lot of personal questions. We all draw to convey an idea or tell a story through a visual medium. So ask yourself, what do you want to say to your viewers? What emotion do you want them to feel when they look at your work? It's good to note down or visualize these ideas in some way, as you'll see me do here, and create something like an inspiration board. If you feel lost, just think about the things you love, the things that you are passionate about, things that you loved as a kid or a teenager, the things that make you happy, hopeful, sad, angry, or any other emotion. Really, this is just about who you are and what makes you you. And these things don't have to be just illustrations or movies or anime. It could be anything like your favorite places and environments, your hobbies, activities you did as a kid, your favorite books, your favorite genre of music, or even your favorite season and day of time. What time of day? I think the best artists are those who stay true to themselves first and then find the technique to illustrate that beautifully. Creating this inspiration board will help you when you're uninspired. Just think about what makes you you and share that with the world. You've been seeing me make my inspiration board using Milanote. As you can see, it's really simple to use and makes the board look beautiful effortlessly. You can alternatively use PureRef or even do it with only words on paper. But Milanote really just helps you group everything to one very organized space, especially if you plan on doing bigger projects, as well as some other benefits like integrating links and videos into your board, which you can't do on PureRef. But any method is totally fine as long as it works for you. So now, using the inspiration board, we want to find a specific idea for an illustration. I used to often say that I had no idea what to draw, but I was wrong. The problem was that I didn't give my ideas a chance because I thought they were bad or boring. All this awesome art you see starts from a small spark of something. For illustration, this could be anything like a place or an emotion or even a type of light. But if you dismiss it right away, that's when you say that you have no ideas. You probably have a lot of ideas actually, but you just reject them for whatever reason. But you need to learn to trust yourself and stay true to your inner voice. Don't just wait for an idea to come to you. Actively look for it and develop it. We did the inspiration board to help with this, and we'll explore a brainstorming and planning process to help you make your ideas more tangible. By now you should at least have a very small idea of what you want to draw that you can describe in words or an image. Rarely anything will work. Just write it down. Even if you like doing fan art, that's fine too. Just write down the character's name. For me, it was the main vibe of the piece, that being peaceful, calm, and beautiful, which is very vague, but again, we will work on developing this idea further. Next, you want to add things that you associate with whatever you wrote down. You can ask yourself questions like who, what, or where. Who is doing what and where? How can you illustrate this idea that you have? I've recently been getting a lot of fantasy recommendations on my Pinterest, so I just went with a shepherd, imagining how it would be to walk around nature with a sheep around you, in a very peaceful place. From here, the ideas will start flowing naturally, and you will gradually have a better idea of exactly what you want to paint or draw. Just add anything that comes to mind, and I think it's very important to go between words and visuals. You can see me jump between Pinterest and Milanote. I'm sure you've heard this a million times by now, but don't be afraid of using references. When it comes to reference, I personally find it very important to be specific about what you like in a certain image. One of my biggest struggles was relying on one image too heavily, and it almost started to look like a copy. But separating reference images into categories helped me avoid that, so that's what works for me. For example, references where I like the environment or what the character should look like, or how the composition should be. Things like references for lighting or color. Just try to be specific about that. If you ever feel lost while drawing, it likely means that you're missing some sort of reference. You can even add something like a playlist that has the right vibe so you can listen to it while you draw. And here is my board. Just try to make it organized and visually appealing so you can use it throughout the process without getting lost. This board doesn't have to be final either, and you will likely change some stuff as you work on your illustration, as you'll see me do. The goal is just to get you started with drawing with a solid idea in mind rather than anything final. Now we finally get to drawing, but even this stage is all about exploring different ways of showing your idea through thumbnails. If you don't know, thumbnails are a small scale, very rough version that you do quickly to test out different compositions that you have in mind. It can be just using line, or you can even add value or color. I often do this on paper first because I just feel less pressure, and then move to digital. But for the sake of this video, I did it digitally this time. Often the thumbnails you see online look better than your final illustrations. But if you look at some of my thumbnails, you can see that really the goal is just for you to get your ideas on paper, and only you need to understand them. It's important to have your references open when doing this, and if you don't have a second screen, you can open Milanote on a different device if you have a tablet or something like that. If you're not using Milanote, you can try to lock your references onto your screen with PureRef. As you can see, I just sketch very loosely and try out different variations, different angles, different scales, different environments. These sketches really don't have to look good at all, just good enough for you to be able to tell if you like the composition or not. And you really don't need to add any details either. It's best if you can stay zoomed out. You can see me do iterations and just move things around until I find something that sticks. It's also important to do as many thumbnails as you can. Please don't stop at your first, or this practice will lose its purpose. Even if you really like your first sketch, just experiment and you'll find out that you can change some things that you make the composition better. Spending a bit more time on this stage is better than committing to an early sketch only to realize after spending hours in the process that you don't really like how this looks. Again, the goal here is to find the composition or idea that you like best before you commit to clean line art or rendering. After you do a couple of thumbnails, you can compare them and even write notes about what you like about certain ones so you can combine some of your ideas. I would have liked to do more thumbnails, but due to time constraints I had to stop here, and I was pretty happy with this one, so I just picked it. I also like to do a rough grayscale pass to figure out the lighting and composition. The same applies here. You just need to apply some very loose paint onto the canvas, so you can have an idea of what the final image will look like in your head. You need to at least be able to roughly imagine what the final will look like. And if it doesn't look good in your imagination, then it's likely not going to get better with colors and rendering. If you think you did the best you can for the thumbnail, then just keep going even if it looks bad. You'll have to get through a lot of bad or boring looking illustrations to become good, so just keep going here. From this thumbnail, you can now actually get to your own process. You can do some clean line art or add color or whatever you want to do. It gets into a more personal process starting from here, but I want to show you quickly how I planned the colors for this piece and then render it for anyone who is interested. What I like to do next is to clean up the lines a little bit. Nothing too fancy, but just to clean up the anatomy of the character as well as the environment. And then do a more clean pass of the values. After that, I get into color blocking. This stage is also very messy, and really the goal is just to get some colors on the canvas. It doesn't matter if they're exactly right. I really just want the canvas to have some colors, because I often get lost looking at the grayscale image and get too stiff with my process. So instead, I paint in some loose colors here. I love using all kinds of texture brushes and brushes that merge with other colors, just to give me a wide range to choose from. The brushes I use are all linked in the description, so if you want them, you can check them out. It's also important to have some references that you can color pick from. I find that very helpful. Again, this isn't supposed to be final. The goal is just to get some sort of colors that go in the right direction before you go in and render. From here, I start separating into different layers and actually rendering. I find that I'm quite bad at this, so there's not much to explain except that I just try to paint in more details and define forms. And here's the finished piece. Definitely nothing too impressive, but again, I'm really just learning along with you guys. I really find that approaching any creative project with a more organized approach can save you a ton of time and wasted effort, and make your process a lot more consistent. A lot of this process is very personal, and what I showed in this video is definitely not the right way of doing it, just what I found works for me. Often what you see online is just the final image, but very little people share the very beginning stages of their process, even before they get into drawing, and I thought it would be nice to shed some light onto this topic. If you'd like to see more in-depth content on planning using different approaches, you can check out the videos in the description. And if you find it to be interesting, please check out Milanote. Again, you can try it for free with no time limit and then decide for yourself. Other than that, I really hope that you've enjoyed or learned something from this video. If you'd like to support me, you can just like and leave a nice comment. But even just watching really helps, so I truly appreciate it. Sincerely, thank you for watching until the end, and I wish you a peaceful rest of the day. Take care.